Hello, my name is Arlo. I am not a hero. I am just a man who made many mistakes and learned from them. Today, I want to tell you a story, my story. It is not about winning. It is about falling and standing again. I live in a quiet apartment. It is small, but it feels empty. There are pictures on the wall. Me, my wife, and our son when he was small. We are not together now, but we still care about each other. Our son, Rafi, is the bridge between us. He is everything to me. Rafi is 16. He is smart, kind, and quiet. He wants to go to a great university and become an engineer. He studies day and night. Sometimes I see him sitting at his desk, tired but still reading. I tell him, Rafi, take a break. Go play outside. He smiles and says, Dad, I can rest later. I must win first. I don't like that word win, but I don't stop him. I think he knows what he's doing. I remember being young once and wanting to prove myself too. Then the day of results comes. He goes online to check his score. I wait in the kitchen and make tea. I hear nothing for a long time. The room feels heavy. I walk to his door and see him sitting on the floor. His phone is on the ground. His face is white. He looks at me with empty eyes and says softly, Dad, I failed. I try to smile. I say, It's okay, Rafi. You can try again. But he shakes his head. No, Dad. You don't understand. Everyone will laugh at me. I am nothing now. I sit beside him, hold his shoulder, and say, Son, a paper cannot decide your life. But he doesn't hear me. He closes his eyes, and tears fall down his cheeks. That night, after dinner, he stays in his room. I think he needs time alone. I go to bed, tired, not knowing that the worst moment of my life is about to come. In the middle of the night, I hear a sound, a crash, a cry. I run to his room. The door is locked. I shout his name, Rafi. Rafi. No answer. I break the door and see him on the floor, not moving. Everything becomes slow. My hands shake. I call for help. Soon, the ambulance arrives. Lights, voices, people running. I sit in the hospital beside his bed. Machines beep. His face is pale, his eyes closed. The doctor says, He will live, but we don't know when he will wake up. I sit there all night, holding his hand. Tears fall again and again. And inside, I ask myself, where did I go wrong? Maybe he thinks I never failed. Maybe he doesn't know who I really am. I look at him and whisper, Rafi, when you wake up, I will tell you everything. You must know who your father really was. That night, I close my eyes and go back. Back to when I was young, foolish, and called a loser. When I was young, I was very different. I was not rich, not strong, not popular, but I was full of dreams. My parents worked hard to send me to a big college in the city. It was the first time I left home. When I arrived, the campus looked huge, tall buildings, green fields, and many students walking fast with books in their hands. I felt small, like a drop in a big ocean. My room was in a place called Hostel 4. People said it was the worst hostel. They said, only losers live there. When I heard that, I felt afraid. But I had no other place to go, so I stayed. That night, I met my roommates. Sax, a funny guy who always made jokes. Dirk, a strong boy who liked to fight. Mem, who talked about girls all the time. Cam, a quiet genius who read books day and night. And Boy, who was small but had a big heart. At first, we didn't like each other. The room was noisy, messy, and hot. But slowly something changed. We started to talk, to share food, to laugh together. We became friends, strange friends, but real ones. One day, in the dining hall, some students from another hostel laughed at us. They said, "Here come the losers from Hostel 4." I felt angry and embarrassed. Dirk stood up and shouted, "We are not losers. You will see." That was the first time I saw his fire. Later that night, we all sat on the floor and talked. We decided to join the annual sports competition between all hostels. It was a big event. Every year, the strong hostel called Hostel 1 always won. We never had a chance. But this time, we wanted to try. Why? I asked. They are stronger, faster, better. Sax smiled and said, "Because everyone thinks we can't." That's a good reason to try. From the next morning, we started to practice. We woke up early, ran around the field, and trained hard. We failed many times. Some days, we argued. Some days, we wanted to give up. But every night, we came back and tried again. During those days, I met a girl named Maya. She was kind, calm, and smart. She smiled when I talked to her, and my heart beat fast. She said, "You look tired, Arlo." I said, "I am, but it feels good. For the first time, I am fighting for something." She laughed softly and said, "Then keep fighting." Little by little, our group became a team. We were still not the best, but we started to believe in ourselves. Every failure taught us something. Every bruise, every fall made us stronger. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a loser anymore. I felt alive. I didn't know it then, but those days would become the most important days of my life. The big sports event was coming soon. Every hostel wanted to win. The best players were from Hostel 1. They had new shoes, strong bodies, and loud voices. They looked at us and laughed. One of them said, "You people from Hostel 4 should just stay in your rooms." Dirk wanted to fight them, but I stopped him. I said, "Let's fight on the field, not with our hands." We made a list of games: running, basketball, swimming, and many more. We knew we could not win all of them, but we decided to give everything we had. Every morning, we ran until the sun came up. Every night, we sat together, tired but happy. Sometimes I wanted to stop. My legs hurt. My body was weak. But when I saw my friends still training, I couldn't quit. We were not just a team now. We were a family. Maya often came to watch us. She brought water and food. When I felt tired, she said softly, "You are stronger than you think." Her words stayed in my heart. The day of the competition arrived. The field was full of noise, drums, cheers, music. Students from all hostels stood around, shouting for their teams. I looked at my friends. We were nervous but ready. The first race started. Dirk ran fast but fell near the end. He stood up again and finished last. The crowd laughed, but we clapped for him and said, "You did not stop. That's what matters." Then came the basketball match. Sax missed 2 easy shots, but on the last second, he threw the ball again, and it went in. For the first time, we won one game. We shouted, jumped, and hugged each other like children. After that, something changed. People started to cheer for us too. Even students from other hostels said, "Go, Hostel 4." They saw our spirit. One by one, we played, lost, and sometimes won. At the end of the week, we were still far behind Hostel 1 in points. But everyone respected us now. They no longer called us losers. They called us fighters. That night, we sat on the roof and looked at the stars. Sax said, "We didn't win the cup, but we won something bigger." I asked what. He smiled. "We won ourselves." We laughed, talked, and sang songs under the dark sky. In that moment, I felt free. I understood something. You don't need to be first to be proud. You just need to give your best and never give up. Maya looked at me and said, "You are not the same Arlo anymore." I asked how. She said, "Before, you wanted to win. Now, you want to grow. That is better." I smiled. She was right. Those days changed me forever. But life was waiting with more lessons. Some happy and some very hard. Many years passed. College ended. Our team didn't win the big trophy, but we won respect, friendship, and memories that stayed forever. After graduation, we all went different ways. Dirk became a coach, Sax worked in a small company, Cam moved abroad, and I got a job as an engineer. Life slowly changed. I married Maya. We were happy. We had a little boy, our Rafi. When I saw him for the first time, I cried. He was so small, and his tiny hands held my finger tightly. I promised him, "I will be a good father." But life is not always kind. I worked too much, trying to earn money and build a future. Maya also became busy. We started to fight about small things: time, stress, plans. After some years, we decided to live apart. Still, we cared for each other and shared love for our son. Rafi grew fast. He was smart and serious, like his mother. Sometimes I saw myself in him. The same eyes, the same dreams, the same fear of losing. He wanted to be the best at everything. When he didn't get first place, he looked sad. I tried to tell him stories about my old friends, about how we lost, but kept smiling. He just smiled politely and said, "That's nice, Dad." He didn't really understand. Maybe he thought I was always successful. He never saw the part of me that failed many times. One day, Maya called me. Her voice was shaking. She said, "Rafi didn't pass the exam." I said, "It's okay. He can try again." But she was quiet. I didn't understand how deep his pain was. That night, I got the call that broke my heart. Rafi had tried to end his life. When I saw him in the hospital, everything around me disappeared. All I saw was my son, my little boy, lying there, pale and weak. Machines made soft sounds. I sat beside him and touched his hand. I felt so helpless. I wanted to take all his pain into myself. I whispered, "I failed you, my son. I never told you that losing is part of life." Days passed. He didn't wake up. I stayed by his side and thought about my own past, my college, my friends, my struggles. I realized something important. Rafi didn't need to see a perfect father. He needed to see a human father, one who failed but stood again. So, I decided to tell him everything. I started to speak, even though he was sleeping. I told him how people called me a loser, how I fell, how I stood, and how I learned that real strength is not about winning. It is about trying again. While I talked, a small tear fell from his eye. Maybe he heard me. Maybe he felt my words. And in that moment, I knew there was still hope. Morning came slowly. Light from the window touched my son's face. I was still sitting beside him, tired but awake. The nurse came and said, "He is breathing better now." I looked at him and smiled a little. Every day, I told him more stories. I talked about Sax's funny jokes, about Dirk's big fights, about Maya's calm voice. I told him how we tried, how we failed, and how we laughed again. I told him that losing does not make you small, giving up does. Sometimes, the doctor said he could hear my voice. That gave me hope. I kept talking. One evening, while I was reading to him, I felt his hand move. Very small, but real. I looked fast. His fingers moved again. My heart started to race. I shouted for the doctor. And then, slowly, Rafi opened his eyes. He looked weak and confused. His lips moved a little. I came close and said softly, "It's okay, son. I'm here." He looked at me and whispered, "Dad, I'm sorry." I started to cry. I held his hand and said, "No, Rafi. I'm sorry. I should have told you my story before. You are not a loser. You are my son, and I am proud of you." He closed his eyes again, but this time with peace. The next days were full of care and rest. Sometimes he smiled at my silly stories about college. He liked hearing how we lost almost every game, but still had fun. When he was strong enough to walk, I took him outside the hospital. We sat on a bench under a big tree. Birds were singing. I said, "Rafi, listen. In life, people will call you names. They will laugh when you fall, but they don't matter. What matters is what you do after you fall." He looked at me quietly and said, "Did you ever feel like giving up, Dad?" I smiled. Many times. But then I remembered my friends, how we stood up again and again. That's what life is, my son. Standing again. He nodded. I could see understanding in his eyes. He was still young, but something inside him had changed. When we came home, Maya met us at the door. She hugged Rafi tightly. For the first time in years, we stood together again, a family. No words, just love. That night, when Rafi went to sleep, I looked at him and whispered, "You are stronger than you know." Then I looked out the window at the stars. I thought of my old friends, of the laughter, of the pain, of the lessons. I understood one truth clearly. You don't need to win to be strong. You need to try, fall, and rise again. And now, when someone asks me about my life, I smile and say, I was called a loser once, but losing taught me how to live. So this is my story. I lost, I learned, and I lived again. Now I know life is not about winning all the time. It is about trying, falling, and standing again. If you like my story, please subscribe and stay with me. More stories are coming soon. Thank you for listening, my friend.